Hello, welcome back my fantastic artistic friends to another episode of Painting with MasterTemple. We've got an 18 by 24 inch prime pre-stretched canvas on the easel. The top half has been coated in a very thin layer of linseed oil and titanium white, mixed together about 50-50. Very thin layer, paint it on and then wipe it off, okay? We're going to do a nice simple little painting I'm sure you'll enjoy. And I'm also going to show some subscriber art in a little while. So I'm going to fetch you up onto the canvas so you can see what we're doing. But before you do, please hit that like button and subscribe if you've not done so already. Happy days! So let's paint a nice little sky up here. So this, like I've just said, is just coated in a very thin layer of linseed oil and titanium white mixed. And it's very, very thin. Okay, what I'm going to do is take a little bit, the same brush, maybe just wipe it off a little bit. Same brush, just pick out a little bit of alizarin crimson, not much. Don't want much at all. We're going to have a nice warmy colour to the sky because it's got some of that titanium white mixed in there. And let's just put a little floatery something over just about here, like so. That's it. Don't want much. Don't want much. This is an old brush and you can see the scratches in the paint there, like so. In fact, I'm going to just wipe off any excess. Let me grab another tissue. Wipe off any excess. And I'm going to go in a tiny touch of, this is French ultramarine. I always forget what it's called. It's French ultramarine. It's like a more purpley blue. Start off in the corners and just scratching. We'll blend all this out. But just put some blue in there. Leave some white spots. Like that. Look at the colours that are coming out of the brush now. That's immense, isn't it? That's immense. Just like that. Okay. Look at the state of that canvas. Doesn't look much at the moment, does it? Okay, let's just grab. I'm just going to grab a tiny bit of the burnt umber. Just a tiny bit. The blue and the burnt umber will make a nice grey colour. Okay, just a bit of a grey colour. Browny grey. Keep it to the warm side. If you add more blue, it's going to be a cooler grey. Just the corners, a bit of floaty stuff up at the top there. Get rid of that and pick up a nice big dry brush. And I'm going to start right in the middle here. Look at that. Big brush, nice and dry. Blend it with the linseed oil and titanium white. You need strong wrists for this, you know. You need strong wrists. You end up aching if you keep doing this all day. But it won't take long. Won't take long. Few minutes and that will be a sky done. That's it. That's all I want really for the background of the sky. So what I'm going to do is take a fan brush and load it with some white paint. Just like that. And then I'm just going to pick out some clouds. I don't want strong, massive, monstrous clouds. But we'll just have some up there. Just let the fan brush dance. Keep loading. You may have to wipe the fan brush clean if it picks up a lot of that undercolour, that sky colour. We'll just want something up there like so. We don't really care at this moment. Throw it in. Throw it in. And we'll come up here as well. And we'll just throw in some cloudy shape. Look at that. It just looks warm. It just looks like a nice warm picture, this. There we go. Like so. To this, I am going to pick up a bit more of this brown. Okay, just a bit of the brown. So that's burnt umber and a touch of ultramarine. These are Winsor & Newton paints. Okay, and that will make a nice grey colour. And I'm just going to tickle and tease underneath the clouds. Just as we did with the top, but just on the underside. Bit of a shadow. There we go. And if you don't want a shadow in your clouds, don't put one in. But it'll give it a bit more definition, I think. Like that. You can even make it a big heavy shadow as well. Maybe put a bit of black in there sometimes, like a makeup brush. Make sure it's dry. And then where the join is, we're just gonna blend them together. I'm not touching the top edge if I can help it. Just where the join is. Tease it out, tease it out, tease it out. Same on this one. Just tap and move, tap and move. No, don't be pulley strokes. Just tap in. Fabulous thing about oil paints is that you can actually blend the colours together quite easy. There we go. And work your way across. Now you will have to step back, and I'm going to step back in a moment just to see if I need to tweak anything. I don't know what it looks like. I'm right on top of the canvas, and when your nose is on the canvas, you really don't get an idea of what the composition looks like. So and I'm halfway on, sideways on. That doesn't help. That doesn't help at all. So again, now what I did, I flipped the brush over, so I'm using a clean part of the brush just to tickle and tease the top half of these clouds. Very gently, very lightly. Be loose. Hardly hold the brush and be very gentle with it. Squeeze the arm, it might get in the way. These things do, don't they? Fluff it up, give it a bit of a cloudy shape. May add some darker colour there, actually. Right, I'm going to step back now, see how we go. So I've just added a little bit of dark colour just under these clouds and just tinkered with them here and there and just put a few streaky things as well. I think it needed that. I might go back and change them again later, but for now, I think they're almost done. Right, so what I've got to do here is I've made a grey colour. Now, this is grey from ultramarine and burnt umber and a bit of white. Okay, and I'm going to throw a tiny bit of black in there. I'm going to paint a nice mountain, just a tiny bit. But I want a little bit of a grey colour to start with. Let's wipe off any excess off the knife. Cut off your roll of paint, and then I'm going to come up here. So put the point of the knife on the canvas, and then let's just put in where the mountain is going to be. Okay, we're going to cover most of this crimson up, but some will show and it'll look quite smart. I'm going to do a few different layers of mountains, I think, but I want to get rid, I mean, there's a bit of oil on here as well. I want to get rid of any excess paint. Usually with the palette knife mountains, the contrast between the black, almost black underpainting and the white is super strong, and it does look quite neat, but it can sometimes make the mountain be actually on top of you. So we'll just maybe cut a bit of there as well. And I don't want shark teeth. Okay, I don't want a bit of movement in the rock formation. Yeah, like that. That's your far away mountain range. Scrape it off. May even get an old rag. Okay, these are basically tissues that you get from the market, and I'm just going to push in there and wipe off any of the paint. The stain will still be in there. Change that around. Should have just get in there and wipe off any of the excess paint, and you can even shape your mountain range with this rag. There, like that. You can see the brown colours actually coming out of the grey. Quite neat. Remember, this is all dry. Don't want to care about that too much. That might go into nothing. I'm going to put something in front of it, obviously. So what I've done here is just mixed up a little bit of the blue shadowy colours. Okay, using ultramarine, put my teeth back in. Ultramarine, there's a little bit of phthalo blue, a little bit of this grey colour, and white. Okay, and I've got like a bit of a stream of different colours there that I can dip into and take as I wish. Wipe off any excess off the knife. Put the littlest roll of paint. Now I'm going to have the shadow side on the right now. It's a bit different for me this time because I usually try and get it on the left, but we'll go on the right side of the mountain now. And I just want a bit of this. And just tease and touch and pull. Yeah, like that. Look, it goes on so easy because we've got most of that paint off. We've got most of all that paint off, and just work where you think the shadow should be. Mountains are very popular to paint, and I absolutely adore painting them. Don't get much mountains here in Yorkshire, England. We've got some big hills, you know, and the highest motorway and the highest airport in the country is actually in Yorkshire. But no jaggedy mountains like that. We're doing Scotland, Wales, and there's a few jaggedy mountains about. Just pushing some paint there. Grab some, we'll put some on this side. Just like that. And again, I need to step back and take stock of what we've got up here. Now, the reason why we're using a bit of a colour stream here is why use just one colour when several do? When we've got the opportunity to put several down, you know, and make a lot of difference with different colours. Okay, grab a little bit of the lighter colour, and it's okay to highlight the shadows. It really is. There we go, a bit there, like that. We've got a lot of paint on there, quite thick. What we could do is just scrape it off, and what's left might be what we need. There, like that, yeah. Scrape it off, put that back on the palette, scrape it off. And what's left there, just be light and gentle. What's left is what we need, yeah. And you've not got that jumpy out effect of the mountain. Right, let's take a little bit of white. Okay, cut off that roll of paint. And then on this side, we're just going to touch, and see where we go. Now, don't make a cartoon mountain. I say that a lot, and I see it a lot as well, where you've just got a dark outline of a mountain. I've done it myself. I'm speaking from experience here. When you paint the undercolor, either in dark or black or whatever, you sometimes get a dark outline of your mountain. It looks like a cartoon, and I don't think I've ever seen a mountain, a photograph of a mountain or anything like that where the mountain has a black outline. It just doesn't happen. So be careful of that. There again, just zoom that in, maybe fetch it down. So just play and tinker with your lights and darks and touch and pull. You don't have to do this in one stroke or actually in 1 minute. Take your time. Take your time. Best thing is to take your time. Remember, we have got all the time in the world. Painting makes us happy. And when we're doing painting, we're being happy. There we go. Take your time. Paint just flows nice and easy off that knife. When you get a thick layer of paint, just scrape it off, and what's left is all we need. And all we're going to do is tinker with this like so. Put some of that over there. Bring it down, that even bring it down. And then we're going to mix up a little bit of a darker colour to make another mountain at this side. What's here? What's here? Let's just put some white in there. Bounce it around. Picked up a bit of that shadow colour. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Because there's going to be shadows in the highlights. And there's going to be highlights in the shadows. Keep working. Keep working. Use the palette knife to your advantage. I just want to show you how much paint I've actually removed off the canvas when we're doing this. And what's on will just be perfect. Just scrape off any large lumps and bumps that get too much texture. You don't want too much texture at this point. We are gonna put some more mountains in this area here. So and that we can add texture, but here we just want a little bit, and we can use this paint. Don't get rid of it. We can use this paint for put it in and then scrape it off. Put it in, scrape off, and we can add like mist down here. We can even paint the mist with the palette knife and just rub like so. We'll probably come back with a brush and give it a bit of some proper mist, bit of proper mist like this. All right, we seem to have a pretty decent palette knife mountain just there. Okay, so this is the faraway mountain. I'm going to paint another bank of mountains here. So that grey colour, look at the oil out of the paint. We could add a little bit of black into that grey colour that we've mixed. A little bit of black, maybe a bit more. And maybe cool it down a bit with a bit of phthalo blue. There, just like so. So it's a bit darker. Maybe a bit more black. I want it a bit. There we go. There we go. Wipe off the excess. Cut off your roll of paint. And same principles, but because because these are a little bit closer to us, they want to be a little bit higher and a little bit darker and have a little bit stronger colour. Now, I'm going to pull this down like that, all the way through. Like so. And it's going to mash up there. So I put the dark colour in and I'm just wiping it off and shaping the mountains. And I've got little Ralph, my dog, that's why my hands are all shredded, just down here. And he's probably knocking the camera, so I'll have to sort that out before we carry on. And here is little Ralph at 4 months old. He's a little bit of a big boy, aren't you? Say hello to everybody. Come on, let's get you fed. I don't know how we're going to do this now because the horizon line has come pretty low and we're going to have to work on that. So we're going to have to stop this mountain before it takes up the whole of the canvas. Even an 18 by 24 inch canvas is pretty big. So what I'm going to do is just try and scrape off what paint is down here. And we need to put a tree line and stuff down here. I don't know what we're going to do. Let's pick up this brush. And I'm going to go into a bit of green. Now, this is not sap green. This is basically light green and umber mixed together. It's got some of that cool blue colour actually in the brush. And I'm just going to start, just with this fan brush, touching on and putting some green areas down here. Now, again, we're going to work on highlight side and shadow side. So we'll put this in for the highlights. These are really far away green areas. We want some here, obviously, but we don't know what, because if we put a big, massive tree here now, how close are those mountains? So this is a good test to see what we can do. We might put a big rock or something there. I don't know yet. We'll have to think about it. All right, so just feather these in, a little bit of an air there. Try and get rid of it. Wipe it off somewhere else. Okay, and then just tap in these little tree lines mid-ground. Mid-ground is pretty close to the camera. Maybe we'll have to have a small tree or something like that. So we might have to put, I don't know, something here. I mean, we've got this area as well to go at. So it's not gonna be great. We'll have to work. We'll have to really work on this composition. That's what we enjoy doing, yeah? Testing ourselves. All right, I think I've worked it out. So I'm just using a dagger brush, little tiny dagger brush, really, just to put lots of different trees down here, evergreens, but work in different colours, put a bit of white in there, mist it out, and work in different layers, different colours to try and get what we're after. So a bank of evergreen trees and slowly going up these mountains here. So you can turn the brush on its side, put a few in there as well. Tinker with it, play with it, mist out the base and another layer, just like you would do with a cloud, really. Like so, and maybe this one goes back up the side of the mountain there. Anyway, so what I've got, let's get the big old brush. I've put some of that tree colour there. I'm just going to pull it down just before we need to add some land. And I'm going to have a little stream here and then a little bit of a peninsula where we probably stood high up. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm just going to pull some of this down. Remember, this is purely dry, so this is just going to be a little bit, and we'll work on the reflections as well. We'll put a bit of the same colour on. It's getting some of that sky colour in there, which is neat, which is nice. So just pull that down. Just gives us a nice nice, well, a drier base to work on. Back to the palette knife. Now get rid of some of that. I've had to scrape out some more white. There we go. Use a lot of white. Okay, so scrape off a little bit of a bank of white on your palette knife, and then just all I'm doing is putting some snow down on the land. So we're going to make the land. The reflections are already there, but this is exactly the same now because it's closer to us in the perspective of things. You can add a little bit of texture and detail and stuff like that. Again, this is still quite far away. We're going to be stood up here or around here on a big ledge. I think that'll work. Just put a little bit of snow in, just like that. Then we'll see what we've got. Right, let's work on the little river down here. So I'm going to take a touch of linseed oil, just a touch, and put it on the palette. Now, this is the brush that we're painting the sky in. So, of course, we're going to want a bit of that sky colour. That might be a bit too heavy. Too heavy, too heavy. So, anyway, stop fooling about, Dan. Just throw some of that purpley colour in. Okay, grab a bit of the blue, throw that in, and just smush that in. Really push it in. That goes back there, like that. Like so. Really get tough with this. So that's coated in a very thin, only one drop really of linseed oil might go off there. We're going to have some trees, and we might change the flavour of the tree, but for now, it is what it is. Right, so we're going to grab some of this dark green colour, like so, and then where we've got a bit of a dark place, dark shadowy place, let's just pull some of that down, like that, into the water. It starts mixing into mud. Reload your brush. Wipe. You might need to wipe off some of this. But I'm just going to pull this down. It might be easier with a fan brush, or a 2-inch brush, whatever you want to do. We're going to cut some little banks and mud and stuff like that just above the snow, just to separate it slightly with a palette knife. I'm sure you guys know how to do that. All right, so I've just basically filled this area in with some misty kind of mountains, and faded them out. We're going to have some trees over here, but to get big trees here, we've had to lift the land up a little bit. So I've sketched in with a little bit of brown paint, just a little bit of a peninsula, and you can see down here is where the cliff face is at. If we were down on the same level as this part here, we'd have to make the trees that same size, or very similar. But because we want them a little bit bigger, a little bit more detail, we're going to have to raise the land up so we're not looking like we're in an helicopter looking down on the land. So we'll work on this area here. So I'm going to grab the brush, okay, that I used to just sketch this area in, and we're just going to pick up a little bit of the brown, umber, black, both browns, burnt umber, burnt sienna, a bit of black. I'm just going to fill this in just like this, and then we can come back and put some little rocky things on there. A little bit of a cliff. And you don't want to walk off the edge of this cliff. So we may put a fence. I don't know yet. I'm just going to fill that in so we know where it is. Like that. Remember, this bone dry. Of course, the rest of the painting's wet now. There, like so. And with that same colour, the browns and a bit of black, we can lay out where our trees are going to be. So I'm going to take a little bit of a step back and see how big we want them. We can make it start about there, I think, and have the tree come down like so. And let's give him a friend here. Okay, a little bit of a taller one just to case this side in like that, and that maybe lives about there. We might have a couple more little ones, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of a path right across there. I don't know yet. Okay, so we're going to work on these trees. So I'm going to grab some of the greens and that browns and that blacks. Might go to a bigger brush eventually, but we'll just see how this looks. Okay, And we're just going to pull out. Now these mountains, I put them on and then scraped them off, and that will give us a nice misty effect, like we did earlier on in the composition. That might be a bit too light. We might have to darken some of this off, but we can just lay it out now. This has got a bit of a crook in it. I like trees with a bit of a crook, and it'll point you towards the center of the painting. Remember, there's focal point somewhere around here, around about there. So like so. So we'll just put this in. Now, a lot of people, myself included, will paint this with a fan brush, but I think little brushes, less cleaning, and obviously a little bit more detail. This is closer to us, so we want that detail in there. Overall, this, maybe darken it off a bit so we can see. There we go. And just do this till we get a nice tree or two or three done. Happy days. Okay, so I painted the trees in and I've just put a bit of tissue, okay, good quality tissue, lint free as well, on there, just to soak up some of that oil off of the paint that's actually on there. Remember, behind the trees there was very little paint. The trees were quite thick, and you can see the oil coming through and it's absorbing quite well. So I'm going to peel this off now, and what we're left with is a nice matte effect. Get rid of that. Now you can see it there. Look at all that oil. Okay, get rid of that. And we're left with two trees which are virtually dry. So I'm just going to take a little bit, let's have a look at this, a little bit of green, the same dirty brush that I used to paint the dark colours on. Okay, and I'm going to have a little bit of green on this. So I'm just going to pick out some areas. Now we've got some shadow areas, and we'll lighten up this green eventually to put on some of the shadows and the highlights. So we'll lighten it up to put the highlights on. Get a bit concentrated here. So just put it on, flick it out, think of the branches, just like that. Okay, and we'll just carry on doing this. And we'll probably put a bit of a trunk in there as well. So we'll find some places where the foliage is broken free, and we can put a little bit of a trunk in there. Okay, so this is a land where there's only snow on the ground. Maybe the trees have warmed up in the sunlight and there's no snow on the trees. That happens. That happens all the time. Okay, with the trees all in place, just resting my finger. Look at the smudge I've done up there. I have to blend that out. I'm just trying to put in some, just grab some thick globs of paint and just highlight some of these branches just like that. That's why you need to put that paper on there so this sort of sticks. There's lots of paint, lots of thick yellowy green highlighted colour paint, and then work on the branches where the sun's going to hit. That's what we need to do. In fact, this branch will come there like that, and just take your time at this. Don't rush it. Taking a little bit of brown on a liner brush, I think this little fence just adds a little bit of something else to the painting. Stops you obviously falling off of the cliff face, but it just adds a little bit of something else. Now we need to just wipe off any excess, get a little bit of an highlight colour with a little bit of white onto that brown, and just put a bit of highlight on these planks there. And we'll probably put a bit of blue and white on the other side. Jiggle it about. Remember, these would be really old looking boards or planks or whatever. A couple here, just under the tree, like that. Of course, when we get to finish it off, we'll shadow some of this out. You know, pull it into the snow and everything. Let's give that one a bit of a highlight on this side as well, just like that. Okay, wipe off the excess, and I'm just going to hit a bit of that blue colour that we made the mountains with, and just do the same thing, but on the yon side. Got to be steady here. Got to be steady. Not to be steady, just a tiny bit of blue. You could do this with a palette knife, I think. Doing it by hand and holding the brush right at the very end will give you a little bit more wobbliness and a bit more to the board. Get the knife. I'm just gonna put some burnt umber on there. I'm just gonna drag it through, just like that, just to create a little bit of body action, like that. And then we'll set it back down. We'll put little snow caps on each one of these posts, blend it into there, some grasses on there, and I think we're almost finished. I think. Well, with one thing left to do, that's just blend out the fingerprints up in the sky, and I think we've got a nice big finished palette knife mountain painting. If you try something like this, please tag me in a photograph that you've done. I'd love to see your work. Leave me a big old like, comment, subscribe if you've not done so already. Remember channel memberships, and until next time, you guys take care, stay safe, happy days, I see thee.